Hello, world. Welcome to Let'sRun.com After Dark. The next to last day of the 2020 U.S. Olympic Track and Field Trials is in the books, and my God, what a day it was. Started off with Emily Sisson absolutely crushing the women's 10,000 meters and the heat. I mean, it was like she wasn't even fazed by the heat. And then we had sprint action tonight. And we're not at Let's Run consider ourselves to be more distance fans than sprint fans. But if you didn't enjoy the action tonight, you can't call yourself a track and field fan. This is Let'sRun.com co-founder Robert Johnson covering the meet remotely from my bedroom in Baltimore. But I'm joined by the boots on the ground, Jonathan Galt and Weldon Johnson. Guys, how was it to see this? I mean, incredible sprint action. Rye Benjamin just misses the world record in the 400 hurdles. Grant Holloway just misses in the 100 hurdles. A high schooler runs 1988. Sydney McLaughlin cruises to a 53.03. And Gabby Thomas runs the third fastest women's 200-meter time ever. It was incredible. One race after another.
Yeah, Robert, it was pretty sick. I mean, the 10K this morning was incredible. But I mean, you're watching the semifinals of the hurdles, and Grant Holloway drops 12.81. And you're like, wow, number 2 time ever. You know, it's not going to get any better than that. You're kind of wondering, well, maybe Holloway will break the world record in the final. And then, boom, Rye Benjamin, number 2 time ever. And then, boom, Gabby Thomas, number 3 time ever, number 2 performer. It's just a crazy night for sprinting.
And then ERRIYON, a friggin' 17-year-old, runs 1988. He's looking around. He's barely ran the final 30 meters. And that's not just the world under 18 record. It's a world under 20 record, which used to be held by none other than Usain Bolt. I mean, 19.88 at 17. That was Usain Bolt's PR when he turned 20 years old. So this kid is a phenom, probably on a high. He's a bigger phenom than Noah Lyles was when he was 4th at this meet 5 years ago.
No doubt, no doubt. And we can get into that later. What do you guys think we should do? Should we go right back to the 10,000 first, then talk about the sprints and get us ready for tomorrow? Should we go in chronological order?
I'm riding the sprint high right now, Robert. I mean, I think, first of all, can you hear us okay? We've got some music playing in the background. You can hear us all right. That's good. So I'm trying to think. That has to be one of the greatest nights of sprinting we've ever seen. I mean, I know there was no world records, but we saw 3 different people become the 2nd fastest performer of all time in their events. I think it has to be the greatest night of sprinting I've ever seen. I mean, 12.81, 46.83, and 21.61 is just nuts. So I'm just stunned right now. Of those 3 performances, I think you'd have to say Thomas's is the most shocking, right? I mean, she had looked good in the first 2 rounds. She ran a world leader in the prelims. She ran a world leader in the semis. But I don't think anyone saw her running 21.61 tonight. I mean, the only person who's ever gone faster was Florence Griffith Joyner. And I think, there are definitely, I've heard the word clean world record thrown around a couple times tonight after Gabby Thomas's run. I mean, I don't know. Could anyone have seen this coming?
I mean, no, I don't think you could. I covered her extensively in collegiate. I mean, those of you who don't know, I do the Ivy League broadcast in ESPN3 every year, and she was a superstar there at that level. I mean, she set the NCAA record indoors in the 200. We had an incredible 49 split on a 4x4. But as a pro, I mean, she won 1 Diamond League meet, but John, I don't think she's even made a U.S. team. So there's no way to have predicted this at all. I mean, she came into the year with a, 22.19 personal best. She came into the meet with the same. No, 22.17. She had opened up at 22.17 in March. But to go from 22.17 all the way down to 21.6, that's half a second. That's incredible. I mean, no. We thought maybe she would have made the team. The way she was running in the rounds, you're like, okay, she's definitely going to make the team. She can get a medal. But to become the fastest clean woman in history, no one saw that coming.
Sorry, Robert, I couldn't hear you a little bit there. But, yeah, as the former voice of the Ivy League, you knew Gabby Thomas before anybody. But her improvement at this meet was pretty staggering. I think her best before this year was 23.17 or something like that. 22.
No, that's selling her short. Remember, she was 6th as a freshman at Harvard. in this meet in 2016. Her best coming into this year was 22:19 from 2018. So she was good, but she was nowhere close. I mean, she never won a U.S. title. She never made a U.S. team, and now she's one of the fastest of all time.
Yeah, I said 23. I meant 22. But never gone under 22, and she does it 3 times at this meet, and then drops 21, just a bomb in the final. I mean, it's crazy. And she ran really well in the 100 too. I mean, she started looking like she might make the team in the 100. And I don't know, she's been the biggest female breakout star at this so far. I mean, we saw what's going on in the men's 200. I think Noah Lyles is going to get beat in the final by a high school kid, but
yeah, I mean, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, the 100. I mean, she ran the 100. All right, Robert, go ahead.
Let's stick with Thomas. I mean, yeah, she ran the 100, and she and Prandini got 4th and 5th. So they both missed the team, and then they just are out of their minds in the 200. But she looks so effortless. She put her arm up. She had a little Usain Bolt in her. But I'm wondering I'd said a few weeks ago that no woman was supposed to make more money than Sha'Carri Richardson. But it's kind of interesting because Sha'Carri, obviously the 100 is a little bit more of a glamorous event. But if Gabby. If Allison had made the 200 team and actually run the 200, which I don't think she would have done even if she had made it because she's probably got better medal chances in the 400, it might have actually helped Gabby's marketability because, Allison Felix brings so much attention to the event. But I still think that it's going to be an interesting dynamic because companies really want female athletes to sponsor. And you've got sort of 2 contrasting, they're both Black females, but one's, Harvard educated and getting a master's degree, and one is so real, raw, and authentic like Sha'Carri, and I think that both of them are posed. It also made me appreciate Usain Bolt in a weird way. The fact that everyone just takes it for granted that you win the 1 and the 2. No, it's very specialized. I mean, look at this. Gabby didn't even make the 200 time, the 100 meter team, and now she's incredible at the 200. So that was really just unexpected. I would have never. I mean, how can you expect a half a second personal best? At this level at age 24.
Yeah. Well, Robert, one of the things that you mentioned, I mean, I think it's an interesting juxtaposition between her and Sha'Carri, but now we got to think, Otto Bolden said on the broadcast, and how could he not, this is your Olympic favorite at 200 meters. And we got to think, we were talking earlier in this meet about, after we saw the 400, did Shawnee Miller-Weibo make the right decision by dropping down to the 200 and only running the, not running the 400? We haven't seen Salwa Aid-Nassar run the 400 at all this year. Does this result, and the fact that Salwa Aid-Nassar hasn't even run the 400, does Shawnee Miller-Weibo see this, say, I don't want any part of Gabby Thomas in Tokyo. I'm going back to the 400, and I'll try to repeat there, rather than stepping down to the 200, and you got to face Deena Asher-Smith, and now you got to face the second fastest one of all time in Gabby Thomas.
Yeah, I say I want the Olympics. I want the best facing the best, but I'm sorry. If I'm Sha'Carri, shame on you, World Athletics, for not making the 2-4 double doable. I've said it repeatedly. The number one way to market the sport is to let the 2 stars do the double. She has to choose, right? Or do we just say it's somewhat possible she could do the double?
No, it's not really possible. I mean, she pretty much has to choose. Shawnee Miller-Weibo petitioned World Athletics to change the schedule. And this is a woman in 2017. Well, actually, she ended up tying up badly in that 400 meter final, but she tried the double in 2017 in the 200 and 400, and she is the reigning champion in the 400. I think she's at the level where they should change the schedule for her. I mean, look, what's one of the most amazing things we ever talk about in the history of athletics? It's Michael Johnson's 200-400 double at Atlanta in 1996. It's 25 years later. People are still talking about that. Why, if you're World Athletics, would you not want to create more moments like that? Marie-Jose Perec as well, same double, same meet. Like, people are still amazed by that accomplishment. The fact that now we have athletes capable of trying for it and they're not making the schedule possible, it's a disgrace.
It's insane, and it happens time and time again. We want to have the big stars clash each other. But if I'm advising Miller-Weibo, I immediately right now, I watch this race and I get the hell out of the 200 and I move to the 400. I know she's only run this fast once in her life, but Miller-Weibo, I mean, let's give her some. I mean, she's run 49.08 in the 400. Who is going to touch her in that event? There's no one anywhere close to her in the 400. Assuming that these women we've never heard of from Namibia are intersex, which everyone is assuming they are, because 49.08, The next best woman and who's likely to run is Quinera Hayes, who's run 49.78. She's 0.7 of a second ahead. Like, you could just hand her the gold medal. In the 200, Miller Weibo has run 21.7 before into a headwind. So it's not like she's capable, not capable of running this fast. She most definitely is, but she hasn't run a 200 this year. But if I was her, John, I mean, there's nothing preventing her from entering both and then just not showing up and running one. I'm getting in the Diamond League circuit. And I want to see what I can do, because you just can't afford to throw away the money that comes with winning the gold in one of these events.
Robert, one more thing. We have a comment here on the chat from Harry. Hard to say clean world record for someone currently competing on appeal for missed tests. Just to clarify that situation, Gabby Thomas was hit with a provisional suspension for whereabouts failures a couple of years ago, but the AIU ended up dropping that case, so she's now totally clear to compete. I mean, if you still want to label her that she was briefly suspended, I mean, the facts are out there. But just to clarify, she's not on appeal right now. She's like totally cleared. The AIU dropped the case in that situation.
So it means she really missed 2 tests, but I mean,
she has missed a couple, yes.
But I think she said, I was naive and young. I didn't know how the testing system worked. And the third test, she conclusively proved that she was where she said she was. Like,
she had an Uber receipt, yes.
There was a bunch of people there with her or something. So
okay, that was one of the tests. Then another one, she had a bunch of people at her, I think it was her boyfriend's place at Yale, and they knocked on the door, and the AIU tester claimed to have knocked on the door. The whole house said that they never knocked on the door. So we don't need to I mean, you can read about it, Google Gabby Thomas whereabouts. We've got a story on it. But I think we need to, we got other performances to talk about. Can we talk Grant Holloway or Rai Benjamin?
We're going to talk about that. But in terms of the missed test, look, it's like the police. We had to hold the anti-doping authorities to really high standards. I get it. If you're a fan and you're not an insider and you want to think everybody's doping, it totally makes sense. I mean, here's a Harvard-educated woman who can't even figure out how to get 3 tests now. But the World Athletics totally butchered at least 1, if not 2 of the tests. So I had no problem with her getting off whatsoever on that. Do I think she's doping? Absolutely not. So moving on to that. Let's go back to in the order of the other events, the men's sprinting events that came, or the other events that came. Grant Holloway in the semifinals, 12.81. I think it came up as 12.82. It's been moved down to 12.81. Absolutely, ridiculous what he was able to do, in that. And he just looked wasn't touching the hurdles, was attacking them, looked so efficient. And I wasn't actually watching that one live, and I got a text from the intern, and I had this weird feeling because Grant, John, he was on the podcast. He calls you and I his boys, his supporters. He says we've always been there for him, act like we were best buds. Amazing personality. So I had this weird feeling, like, what if he false starts or hits a hurdle or something like that? There we go, 12.81. And I saw 12.81. I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense. 81, what is that? And then I'm like, oh, wait, he ran 12. I was thinking he ran 13.81. So 12.81 is incredible. So looks so good. I thought that Otto Bolden was kind of trying to pull a Tony Romo a lot on the broadcast tonight in terms of predictable records, because he predicted some really fast times, but he tried to do it again in the final. Holloway was clearly pressing, didn't look nearly as good, but still ran 12.96 and booked his ticket to Worlds. So fantastic run for Grant. He's a great star, great personality. And there's just a lot of watching the sprint finals in the Olympics is going to be amazing. We couldn't hear you guys. Repeat yourselves, please.
Weldon, did you unmute us? Can we hear us?
Yeah.
All right. Grant has said he wants to be the greatest hurdler of all time, and he is well on his way to that path. He is the world champion. He won that at 21 years old in 2019. He also, in college, broke Reynaldo Nehemiah's legendary collegiate record of 13 flat to win NCAAs in his final race. So he's got a feel for the moment as well. He just had the greatest 60-meter hurdles campaign in the history of the world, running 7:29 earlier this year, breaking the world record in Madrid. And now he's gone 12. He's run his 2 fastest times in history, his personal history, within the span of about an hour tonight, 12.81 and then 12.96. He's the red-hot favorite for the Olympic gold in Tokyo, and people are going to. We're on world record watch every race here for the rest of the season with Grant Holloway, because it's starting to feel a little bit like Aries Merritt in 2012 when he just caught fire indoors carried it all the way through, won the Olympic title, broke the world record. I think we're kind of in the same thing with Grant Holloway right now in 2021. We can't hear you now, Robert. You got to unmute yourself. Still got to unmute yourself, Robert.
Sorry about that, people. But, you know, I really enjoy watching the hurdles because you can't afford to make a mistake. That's why his indoor, you know, he's got this multi-year win streak going on is incredible. But what was interesting to me is, you know, after he ran the 1281, he realized that he's like, I've got to calm down a lot before the final, because if you're not focusing in the moment, if you press too much, you're going to hit a hurdle, and that could be disaster. So good to see, you know, him into the final and running so well. And then I think right after that, we had the women's 400 hurdles. And Sydney McLaughlin, I mean, what can you say? People have been expecting her to rise to the top, to win the world championship title, to set the world record. And Delilah Muhammad keeps saying no. She's the one that's the Olympic champion. She's the one that set the world record multiple occasions. But that 53.03 tonight by Sydney McLaughlin, I mean, Otto Bolden's like, you watch that, of course there's another second in there. Like, just hand her the world record now. It just seems like we've been expecting it for years, but with Muhammad admitting she's had sort of a setback, I mean, I guess Muhammad, a lot could happen in a month, but can she possibly catch up? Because right now, you would think that not only is McLaughlin going to win the gold, she's also going to set the world record.
Yeah, Robert, I kind of think, I mean, is it crazy to say she could run 51 seconds in the final? Just, I watched how smooth, how easy she looks going over those hurdles, how much she had left in the tank. I mean, we saw it with Benjamin. Benjamin looked incredible in the heats. Basically looked like he was jogging the last 100, almost broke the world record. We saw the world record fall the last time there was a USA Championships. That was Delilah Muhammad putting on a show. We're going to have Muhammad versus McLaughlin again. The last time they raced in the World Championship final, they had the, you know, number 1, number 3 performances of all time. I don't think Muhammad is in the same kind of shape as Sydney right now. So I think this might be Sydney pushing on her own. But I do think, I mean, if I had to bet, will the world record fall in the 400 hurdles final tomorrow? I kind of think I'd say yes. I mean, she's just looks so good, and I think she's right entering her prime right now. I expect a really, really fast time.
I mean, John, she's got to go like almost a full second faster.
Yeah, well, I mean, and you don't think she could do that?
It's just a lot to ask. I mean, she looks effortless. I'll give her that much.
What did Benjamin run? I'm pulling up Benjamin's time from the 400 hurdles yesterday. He ran 48.61. He ran almost 2 full seconds faster than that. And he made, I mean, maybe he let up a little bit more than her. But yeah, I could see McLaughlin running a full second faster than she did tonight.
We need some sprint experts to tell us, does like extreme heat kind of help? I don't know. The times are so much better than what we've seen so far.
This is my theory, Weldon, is this heat, I'm sure it helped. I mean, they're running super fast. And we saw some decent times in the, you know, hundreds last week, but nothing close to what we've seen tonight. And my theory is Phil Knight he's created a weather machine. He's poured, you know, his untold millions into creating some sort of thing that controls the weather. And they said, hey, Phil, you know, if it's 100 degrees in Eugene today, we're going to have to move the 10Ks. And he said, I don't care. I want world records in the sprints. So he deployed the weather machine. We got perfect sprinting weather, and we almost got some world records, and we might get some tomorrow. Who knows? I mean, even if it's 110, is that going to be bad for Sydney? I don't know. I feel like one lap race, it might not be a big deal, but I bet the heat had to have helped today, right?
Yeah, I think the hotter the better. Now 110 again, as I said, I wouldn't expect that to affect a 1500 normally, but we've never seen a track meet in 110 degree weather, which we're going to get tomorrow. But your muscles are definitely loose. I don't think we can expect a 2-second improvement. I do think she could hit 51, but Benjamin yesterday was like chopping his steps and going so slow at the beginning that he was clearly off his game. Let's turn to the men's 400 hurdles. Rai Benjamin just misses the world record, 46.83. And what was interesting here, though, this is why everyone's like, oh, if you assume like, oh, if McLaughlin goes so it should go faster. But Benjamin did not run that fast in the first 200. It was kind of actually even or behind somebody at 200 meters. The commentators out of Boldenstein and Richards Ross are like, well, he's not going out that hard. But his final 200 was amazing. And I think he knew he had a good one because he did not let up before the line, kind of did a little bit of a lean there. So just we're getting in the 400 hurdles what we thought. Like, this is the race that at the global level, every time it's run, we're expecting someone to beat Kevin Young's world record, which has stood since 1996. People keep getting so close to it. Is it going to fall? But one thing I don't know, maybe you do, John, is where the hell is Karsten Warholm? Has he raced at all outdoors?
Sorry, Robert. They just jacked the music. The 100-meter hurdlers are coming right in front of us. Grant Holloway, Let'sRun.com podcast guest. You guys should pull that one up in the archives. He's like 2 decks below us. There's not a bad seat in the Hayward field, I'll say that much. But for some reason, like, nobody's here, John. I would probably say there's under 100 people. We can't see the deck underneath us, so there's probably a couple hundred people here. And they're jacking the music. Grant and crew are doing their victory lap.
Okay, what I want to say about Ry Benjamin, I find it so fascinating. So there's 2 guys in the hurdles right now, right? It's Benjamin and it's Karsten Warholm. And their styles are so different. Warholm takes races out, he attacks them from the gun. He's got those massively long strides, and he's just powering out of the blocks, goes out hard and tries to hold on for dear life. Benjamin's the other way around. His best part of his race is his final 150. We saw it tonight, that acceleration. I mean, my God, have you ever seen anything like that in the 400 hurdles? Him just taking off. Like you said, Robert, he was right with Khalifa Rossa and Kenny Selman through 200 meters. They hurdled almost exactly. Hurdle 5 was almost exactly. They cleared it together. And then Benjamin just takes off, almost gets the world record. And I can't wait to see Warholm versus Benjamin in the Tokyo Olympic final. I think we all hoped for the world record lost in Doha in 2019. And now everyone's going to say, oh, it has to fall in Tokyo this time.
Yeah, I asked if Warholm's race. I forgot. He actually did run finally outdoors for the first time on June 4th, set a 300-meter world record, 33:26. So that's going to be just must watch television. One thing before we get to the men's 200 and then the 100 and then the distance action and get ready for tomorrow is, I will say this about Gabby Thomas. If she was Russian or somebody that we didn't know in America, people would just say she's a doper. I mean, you would think that. You'd think, okay, she missed a bunch of tests. She's and took a half a second off of her PR right before the Olympics. So I get it. Like, if you don't know the stories, and it's hard for people to know these stories, that's why we need to get like a system that's done consistently every time. There should be no doubt about, did the person knock on the door? Was the person where they're supposed to be? We have video. We have phones now with GPS and whatever. If you're knocking on Al Nasser's door or Gabby Thomas's door or Mo Farah's door, record it. Make it clear. If you're going to call before the test, call 100% of the time before the test. Don't try to trick them into missing a test, etc. But I do want to say, like, if someone says, if it was, yes, it would be different if she was some random person that I had no relationship with. But that's just the way it is, and it's tough to be a fan. And I get why some fans think, because they're so strict on these rules, everybody sort of has some doubt about them.
Yeah, Robert, I mean, you look at the all-time list. Just 1 is Flojo at 21:34, 2 is Flojo at 21:56, and then before tonight, 3 was Marion Jones, 21:62 at altitude. That's not exactly great company to be in when you're thinking about, are these times clean or not. But I know you want to get to distances. We have to talk about ERRIYON Knighton, though.
Wait. One more thing on the women's 200. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. So she's improved over half a second this year, in 1 year in sprinting, and she was already very good. I mean, that's nuts. Over half a second. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not suspicious of her, but it's just sort of track and field, right? Like,
yeah, no, you run fast enough. You run times that only suspicious women have run before. The questions are going to come up. That's an inevitability of our sport.
And also one thing, like Harry's pointing out here in the comments, it's hard to say clean record when she didn't have I guess she did have a provisional suspension that it was overturned. But
see, but
the one thing with Flojo's 200 runs that are separate from her 100 runs, for the 100 run, a lot of people think she really didn't run that fast. I mean, that it was wind aided.
Yeah.
With FloJo's 200 runs, she ran 2 times faster. There's no doubt that she ran them. I mean, one was the Olympic final and one was the Olympic semi, both in Seoul. So I don't know. I just kind of view the record. Like, people are going to think what they want to think about FloJo, but the 100 record shouldn't even. I don't think it should count because of the wind gauge.
Right.
There's no question that in legitimate conditions, a woman has run faster than this twice.
And look, what Harry's comment's wrong. She should have never. I mean, she was falsely suspended. The first time, the guy did not wait the full hour. She was at a movie theater, said, "I'll be back, shooting back in time." And then you think the third time was interesting. You're like, why would someone sitting on 2 tests miss it? But she claims she was at a house, a group house with like 10 people, I think at the Harvard-Yale football game or something. And everyone in the house says they never knocked on the door. So how is she supposed to take that test? So, but it's just disappointing that we have to talk about this. Let's go to, I mean, we had these things that all could have been world records, but except for Gabby Thomas, I guess she didn't come close to a record. We kind of, Ray Benjamin breaking the world record, or Grant Holloway breaking the world record would not be a shock. ERRIYON, though, my God. I mean, we're always looking for the number one star in the sport and who's going to be the most amazing thing. And maybe we're not going to have one Bolt, but John hates it when you say the next Bolt, but 1988.
It's merited this time, Robert. The Bolt comparisons are absolutely merited.
He even looks like him, the skinny frame and everything. I mean, this kid is the real deal. The showmanship, I mean,
we haven't quite seen that yet, but he did bolt right off the track.
He bolted right off the track, but he sort of pointed at the clock right away and bolted off. I mean, I didn't think I would see Noah Lyles scared in the 200, and I think you saw shock from Noah Lyles. And I don't know enough about sprinting to know how much Lyles is holding back, but I think he's going to get beat in the final.
Wait a second. Is this the real Deena Kastor is watching? And she's watching our sprint recap. We haven't even gotten to She's probably waiting for us to break down the 10K, but she loves ERRIYON Knighton too. So this is great. Hi, Deena.
There you got it, folks. The American record holder in the women's marathon, right, without the super shoes. Imagine Deena would have run 2:15 with the super shoes. So great to see that she's a sprint fan. I mean, how can you not be a sprint fan? If you're watching tonight's action. So we're going to get to Emily Sisson in a minute. She wants us to talk to Emily Sisson. But
does anyone have Deena's number? I could get her on the show real quickly if I could text her the number.
Well, Robert, I want to know, looking ahead to this 200-meter final, who wins? Knighton, Bednarik, Lyles? Who's your pick?
Well, I've been sort of putting this out there the entire meet that could Noah Lyles not make the team. And I've been worried about that. I felt better about it today because he was close. The weird thing was he ran a great turn. He was ahead of Knighton and got run down by this kid. Now, the only thing that's interesting to me is Knighton has gone hard in both rounds, 20-0 and then 1988. They're getting closer to him. And Lyles has said all year, hey, everything's fine. He even said after the first round, I haven't really been working on my 200, but my times are way ahead. I've been working on the 100, but when I do it in the practice, I'm ahead. He keeps saying all is fine. And I'm like, we're eventually going to find out because he has not run fast. This was better. So he's only 0.03 behind, but then I look at Kidney Bednarik, and the other he's 1990. So you got 1988, 1990, 1991. I'm sleeping on, Isaiah Young, though, so he's 1999. So at the last Olympics, right, over 20 seconds got a bronze medal somehow. Tonight, we've got 4 guys in the U.S. semis running under 20 seconds. So I'm wondering if Knighton's a little bit tired. Eventually, these guys run out of steam like Hobbs Kessler, but I'm picking Knighton. How can you not?
Well, because Noah Lyles is the 4th fastest man in history, and he's the reigning world champion. I mean, I just think the one concern I have with Knighton is I know he looked great running it, but it's not that easy to go 20:04, 1988, and then run even faster, which I think is what it will probably take to make the team. I mean, it's just, I feel like doing that he's going to be tired. I know he's 17, but he's going to be tired. I kind of lean that Bednarik's no one's really talking about him, but he looked good tonight as well. I kind of feel like maybe Bednarik and Lyles and then Knighton for 3rd over Terrence Laird, but I don't know what the hell's going to happen. I think it's going to be an awesome race.
First of all, Deena, if you're still listening, check your email. But Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in some of the post-race comments, I just heard the ones in NBC because we couldn't hear the mix zone because we started the show right away. But Lyles kind of said something about, oh, you want to save something for the final. But he sure looked to me like he was straining.
Mhm.
But, the commentary, the last comments we put up, Robert, take off the Knighton thing in the background. The last comments we put up, someone else said, oh, Lyles looked relaxed. So it's like, people just have their different opinions. That's the beauty of this thing. You're going to find out in the final. I guess the questions for Knighton are like, is he used to running 3 days in a row like this? Probably not at a high level. At this level, I mean, the answer is he's never done it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm forgetting here. I'm looking at Lyles' stats. This guy's run 19.50. So we're still a long. We talk about improving by half a second. He's still half a second almost, away from what he used to be. So he's not running nearly as well as he's holding back. He keeps saying it, but this was just phenomenal to see Knighton. I mean, there's something about track and field. We're always looking for the next star. We're not appreciating what we have in the moment. But how do you watch that and not just be like, what is the possibility? Now, I don't want to say it. The first sub 19-200, but I just said it. So incredible stuff. But we have it, folks. The listener on YouTube, Brandon, has said that imagine if the Hayward's track is found out to be short. That is conspiracy theory of the night. Well, then we should give him a free pair of On Athletics shoes. Folks, remember, the Road to the Trials is sponsored by On. And if you love this instant reaction show, instead of having to listen to it whenever we decide to go on air, last night it was like 12:30 in the night, do us a favor. Join the Supporters Club. Let'sRun.com/subscribe. Let'sRun.com/subscribe. You can support independent journalism, save big money on shoes.
That's it. And you can listen on demand.
That's the main
All
reason
right.
to do it. Sorry.
10K time.
Okay, we give Deena.
Wait, we almost had a world record in the pole vault as well. I mean, it was crazy.
She took attempts at the pole vault. No, there was a fourth event where the number 2 performer of all time was achieved tonight. Do you guys know which event that was?
So that must be the women's hammer.
Yes.
But whoa.
Deanna Price, just the second woman ever over 80 meters, 80.31 to win the national title.
But John, we can't talk about that anymore. We're joined by a dog here. And ladies and gentlemen watching, I guess everyone is watching this live. That's not any dog. That's Deena Kastor's dog.
Yeah, you're getting Dog Day Bordeaux because I just got home from Eugene and then picking my daughter up at Catalina Ski Camp. And I literally walked in the door and turned on your broadcast. So I need to shower. But I'm thrilled to be here to discuss Knighton and Lyles and Emily Sisson's amazing run today.
I muted myself because there was a slight echo, but I think it's doing okay now. What did you think of that 10,000? Have you ever run a race in a track race in that type of heat at a high level? And I mean, she goes out there and heading into the race, I was like, okay, I really think Emily Sisson deserves to be an Olympian, but she's out there and she's leading it. And about halfway through, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to outkick her. And I was just getting kind of nervous. And then it got down to 4 people and then she just crushed everybody. And I was just so inspired by it. What did you think of it all?
It was exactly my thoughts when she took the lead. I mean, they went out aggressively and then completely reeled in. I think everybody got nervous because it was 84 degrees on the track, maybe even a little hotter being on the track. But I was worried when she took the lead, but I think it's that it's running with that confidence that you're just going to eventually shake everybody because your fitness is so great. I was surprised by that, but super excited to see how confidently she ran.
Yeah, I guess my only regret was I was thinking, damn, I really wish she made the marathon team. Could she possibly medal? I mean, she just looks so good. I mean, how do you run 31 flat in that weather? I know the shoes help a little bit, but still.
Right. And I also texted a bunch of people who were at the track this morning because I wasn't there. I was already back in California. But I texted a bunch of people and haven't gotten an answer as to why nobody was moving out into lane 2 to let the leaders by. It was shocking to me that everybody just held their ground in lane 1 and that Emily and the rest of the field who were vying for Olympic spots were having to go around so many runners.
Well, it's interesting, Deena, because people pointed out that I guess in the men's race, people moved out. In the women's race, they didn't. And they're like, do women not move out? I'm like, well, I'm a guy. I don't know. I think it's probably depends on the race. If you see people moving out, you probably do what everyone else is doing in front of you.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to go with what my dad says about female drivers, they never let anybody in. It's always the male drivers that are really courteous and women not so much. Maybe we just have something to prove and aren't as polite during race day. But I think it was for making an Olympic team. I think it would have been imperative for people to move out and not get in the way of doing that. But nobody did it. So it's my understanding that maybe they were told to do that at the beginning, because not a single person came out into lane 2 to let the leaders by. And I found that really surprising.
Yeah, I think we need to talk here about the dominance of Emily Sisson, because 31:03, I think only 6 American women have ever run faster than that. And this was without pacemakers. This was in a U.S. Olympic trials final. And this was in, 84 degrees. I think it was 86 by the end of this race. She won this race by almost 13 seconds. I'm trying to think of the last time I saw a U.S. distance final where the winner was just that dominant. I know we saw Ellie Purrier take it from the gun, but I would say this was on another level of dominance. Can you remember, Deena, does anything spring to mind where it just utter dominance like we saw from Emily today?
Yeah, I'm not at all. I think that this performance was so incredible, but I also think that that her performance in the marathon trials and needing to drop out so late in the race when she was a pre-race favorite, I think that certainly played into the discipline that she exuded and going home and getting ready for these track trials, having to get her track legs under her. So I think that sometimes our greatest disappointments could really be our springboards that make us hungry and allow us to rise to the top. This was an incredible performance, but in all of these races, I have been so impressed. We're looking at a very odd Olympic trials being in 2021, a year with a pandemic. And I think that the athletes that really just used that extra time to put in the work they needed, to take the time and really build their endurance or build their speed, whatever they might have needed in the Olympic trials, they have proven that they put in the work during that time, and it has shown in every performance. The 1500 was so impressive. Earlier in the week, I was in the stands to watch it because my teammate Grace Barnett was 7th in that race with a personal best of 4:05. So I was screaming. I actually had a sore throat days after the race for yelling so loudly, but that was such an impressive race all the way around. And then today, Emily Sisson's performance was so dominating and so impressive. I think she ran like Molly Huddle runs, right? Just confident and honest from the start. I was expecting a more tactical race, but super impressed with Emily's performance to run with that type of grit and confidence. Andrew, my husband, actually said to me right before the race, 84 degrees, I think you're pretty safe in maintaining your Olympic trials record. And when she started clipping off those 70-second laps and 72s, he looked at me and said, "Oh, I don't know if your record's safe." And so it was exciting to see that happen, to see her rise to the occasion.
Yeah, John's saying, when's the last time we saw it? John's, what, are you 30 yet, John? John may have just turned 30.
I turned 30 in February.
Okay, he's 29, so he probably doesn't remember the.
No, I turned 30. I am 30, just to clarify.
Sorry. He doesn't remember the 2000 trials, Deena. Take us back to that. He said, when have we seen this dominant? And I just pulled up the results. Deena Kastor in the record, 31:09.65. Second place was 31:58. And that was in Sacramento. If I recall, I was there. It was hot, right? Like, how hot was the race? What was that race like? And why did you run so fast when second place is 49 seconds behind you?
Yeah, I have no kick. I have to make it honest from the very beginning. So that's my tactic always. I hurt early, but I hurt for a really long time. I think my record was from actually 2004 that I ran the Olympic trials record, or maybe lowered it. I'm actually not entirely sure, but it's I love to see that kind of racing. Tactical races make me nervous, both racing them and watching them. And I love when athletes, like in the 1500 and also in the 10,000 meters, just honest from the start. And that you're getting the best team out there because these are the women that are the fittest to make it happen.
Yeah, I want to revisit one point that Deena made a couple minutes ago, was just Emily bouncing back from the marathon trials, because we saw a number of women try to do that. Emily tried to do it. Molly Huddle tried to do it. She ended up, she couldn't just get, she had some form issues and health problems, couldn't make it to the start line. Sarah Hall did bounce back from the trials as well, and she got sixth, which was her best finish in Olympic trials ever at age 38. So that was remarkable. But Sisson, I mean, I talked to her a couple weeks ago. She ran at the Platinum PT qualifier in Boston, which was her final tune-up before the Olympic trials. And I asked her, do you think this pandemic, did it help you or hurt you? And she said, oh, it definitely helped me. Like she said that race at the trials, she went into it. Remember, I think, did we pick her to win? Was she the favorite in the Let's Run preview for the Olympic trials? I feel like we all kind of viewed her as the most safe pick because her debut in London, 2:23, just went so well. Ray Tracy had said for years, he told Robert famously at the 2015 Boston Marathon that she was going to be a great marathoner one day, and she was. And so we all thought, okay, Sisson, yeah, she looks good. That Atlanta course totally destroyed her. She ends up dropping out. And then she said it took her a while to rebound, And this time a year ago, I don't think she considered herself a contender to make the team. She just said that turnaround was too quick to get the track speed back. And that pandemic delay, she said she really credited her husband, Shane Quinn, for helping her sort of get her head back screwed on straight. We saw her go to Valencia last fall, almost breaks the half marathon American record, 67:26. And at that point, okay, she's back, she's fit, she's ready to go. She was clicking off sub 15s with no problem this year outdoors in the 5K. And we knew going in, okay, she's pretty fit. But we also knew, compared to Monson, who is an NCAA champ in the 5K in college, compared to Schweizer and Cranny, who we know have good kicks, that she was going to need to make this a fast race, and she did.
Yeah, gosh, you're like a walking stat book, John. That's incredible that you can just rattle that all off in record time yourself. But it is true. I mean, I think the pressure of going into the marathon trials, being a favorite with so little experience, is a lot of pressure. And she definitely has more experience in the 10,000. Although I do think that her future is definitely in the marathon. I think she just shows so much promise there. But if she continues to work on her speed like she has, with this added time that the pandemic has allotted her, I think that we're going to see her perform really well in the 10,000 as well.
Wow. While y'all been talking about this, people pointing out it was 2004, Deena, when you set that record, but Wikipedia has a big mistake because they had the same page for the 2000 trials and 2004. So apparently I was like, wow, Deena ran the exact same time 4 years apart. Then I'm like, wait, second place is the same person at the same time. So I didn't know Wikipedia was allowed to make mistakes, but I guess it's. But
so
anyway, some people, people are wondering, like, what do you think of the Shelby Houlihan case? I mean, one thing I was saying earlier in the show was I think it's easier for me, who knows people, and I know my brother ran relatively fast, and when he was clean, that people can run fast and be clean. Because I always say, look, if you're the average fan, I could understand why you think all these women are on drugs or all these men are on drugs, because we keep hearing negative stories, whether it's Gabby Thomas missing some tests or Shelby Houlihan testing positive. Like, when you heard she had tested positive, what were you thinking?
I mean, the person in me that wants to give her the benefit of the doubt is the person that's thinking, gosh, testing's just gotten really acute and sensitive. But then the other person in me is saying, I have eaten a hell of a lot of burritos in my life, and I have been tested thousands of times. I think the thing that kind of alarmed me, and I cheer for the Bowerman Track Club. I cheer for those women because they come to Mammoth a lot, and they train here at altitude aside from their place in Park City. But the skeptic in me, when I heard Jerry going to Dr. Brown, and then he became, I guess he questioned something that the athletes were getting. You only go to Dr. Brown for an edge. Like, as soon as people start defending what's in their medicine cabinet and and going to doctors for special help for narcolepsy or asthma. That's where I get skeptical, because I don't think any athlete performing on the world stage is narcoleptic or has really bad asthma problems. I think all of them are just healthy athletes with a natural edge and ability, and they use their undoubtable belief in their training and work year after year to just continue chipping away with it, or at it, not making enormous gains, but making big gains along the way, or little gains along the way that look big over time. And so the only time that I became skeptical in Shelby's story, it wasn't really with the burrito, but it was the fact that the Bowerman Track Club was going to Dr. Brown in the first place.
Yeah, but see, this is where I've tried to get Jerry in the past to be more open about things, because, I was reading on the message board. Yeah, he went to Dr. Brown, but it's my understanding that, he gets hired by Nike. He's Alberto's kind of right-hand man. And Alberto says, hey, you guys should send your guys, have the guys go see Dr. Brown. He's the best endocrinologist in the world. And Dr. Brown was giving seminars at USATF conventions. I mean, Jenny Simpson saw him. Let's remember that. So he goes down there, and it's my understanding, like, the first 2 or 3 guys come back with thyroid conditions, and he thought, this is weird. Stop going. I don't want the guys going anymore. So yeah, he did send them, but unlike Alberto, he thought this was weird. And then, I think that may have led to the Alberto Jerry schism. But again, since Jerry never speaks to the media, I think people are going to assume the worst, because I know for a fact that he's told me that Matt Tegenkamp never went to Dr. Brown, because that's one thing, because people can say, oh, Solinsky ran the American record after seeing Dr. Brown. But I think he probably believes a little bit like I do. Like, he's like, I know that an American can run under 13 minutes because I've had somebody else who's never seen Dr. Brown do it. But it's kind of like, I get why people are so disillusioned, because, I mean, it's just
right.
Crazy thing after crazy thing.
I don't know if you guys read, David Epstein wrote in length about it. And you basically, in order to go to the court of arbitration, you have to come up with some reasoning to defend yourself. And I guess that's where she got her food log ready. And it's tragic. If they're making, if the system is catching clean athletes, it's really tragic to think of. I mean, I don't know anybody there well enough to defend or accuse, but if she is innocent, it's a really sad story. Aside from that, we are sending an amazing 1500 meter team to the Olympics in Tokyo, and for that, I'm really excited.
Yeah, I mean, John wrote an article about the Shelby case when it first broke, saying it's tragic, and it's tragic either way. If she's dirty and lying to her teammates, and they believe her, or they're lying too, it's really bad, because some people really believe her. And if she's clean, I think it's even worse, because we don't want that in the sport. It's really nuts. And you said the 1500 team is great, Deena. The 10K team is great. But we've got like comments here, like, I hate this type of comment, but I used to sort of say the same thing. But someone's saying, that the run today was too good, that Emily's got to be on something. Like, what do you say to comments like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It makes me sad that a good performance is going to come with comments like that. Instead of just knowing Emily's story and knowing that she must have just been gut wrenched after the Olympic marathon trials, but she has the team around her and the focus to just put that in a positive direction and work her butt off to make today a reality. It's sad that someone would say that, but again, I also don't know Emily, so I don't know. I just like to see great performances, and the Olympic trials so far has shown that on so many levels. It's reinvigorated me. I think after a year and a half off of the sport, this certainly reinvigorated me to get excited about the Olympics coming up.
Yeah, one thing, I mean, before we let you go, Deena, because we obviously appreciate you sort of joining on in the middle here of our podcast. I want to know, like, what you mentioned your athlete Grace Barnett running a PR in the final of the 1500. I'm sure personally that was really exciting for you. But like, what event were you most excited by? Like what sort of stands out to you from the trials so far of the races we've seen?
I really was rooting for Sarah Hall today in the 10,000. She's an ASICS teammate. She was a Mammoth Track Club teammate for years. She has been at it trying to make an Olympic team from the 1,500 meters in every single discipline up to the marathon. And so I was kind of sad to see her get sixth place today. But I think the event that really jazzed me was I think Allison Felix, of course. It was so great to see her make another Olympic team, knowing that this is kind of her farewell year. And also that women's 1,500. I just could not believe how beautiful that race was run from the very beginning. It was aggressive. And really impressive all the way around. The fact that so many people ran personal bests in that final was really exciting to me.
Well, Deena, everyone likes hearing you talk, and I know you've done some marathon broadcasts, but have you ever done any track and field broadcasts? I mean, I think Kara Goucher is getting pretty good reviews. People are pretty happy about her on our message boards, but I was just thinking, like, hey, why didn't Deena get that job?
So I cannot stand commentating. Thank you. But I think Kara is doing a brilliant job. She should keep at it. I think she has done so well. I have loved listening to her. If I am not trackside, I've really enjoyed the commentary and the color that she has added to Lee's commentary, which I also really appreciate. So I think she's doing a fantastic job. I hope she continues in Tokyo because I think she's so knowledgeable and has been really eloquent in how she's represented our athletes over this past week and a half.
Oh, great.
You're popular.
And ladies and gentlemen, we didn't give Deena the proper introduction for people who don't know. The greatest female American distance runner of all time.
As voted by Let'sRun.com Nation.
The most knowledgeable track and field fans, distance fans for sure.
Oh, actually, before we let you go, Deena, Sarah Hall has mentioned that she's targeting full marathon. You know, she's basically been saying she's had great training. She thinks that her 10K training has made running marathon pace even easier and tempo pace even easier. She took a shot at your American record last year, came up short, but number 2 in American history. Are you worried this fall if Sarah goes to Berlin or Chicago that your 2:19:36 American record could fall?
I am pretty sure she is going to go to a race where she can run fast, and I am pretty sure my American record is going to go very quickly. So I'll be rooting for her. It's time. We're in an era of this sport that records are falling, and it's so exciting. And so I would love to pass it off to another ASICS teammate in Sarah Hall. So I'll be rooting for her this fall or spring. I actually know the race she's running. So I can't disclose it, but she is going to go and try to run fast, and I'll be cheering on the sidelines for her.
Yeah. I mean, she, as you said, Deena, like she was like trying to make it in the 15, the steeple. But her transformation is amazing. Like, I think John came up with this stat in a recap.
Robert got the stat.
Robert did. Oh, sorry. Got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
4 years ago, Deena, her PRs were 2:30 in the marathon, and what was her 10K PR?
I'm looking it up right now.
30.
It was a lot slower than it is right now.
It's like
it was 30. So her PR now is 31:21. It was 32:44.
I mean, at the last Olympic trials. I mean, it just shows like sometimes people, you know, they figure it out. It takes some of us longer than others, but it's pretty amazing.
Chris is saying right here, my friend Chris, who actually handed me, is my favorite Chris story. He handed me my American flag when I was coming in the 2008 Olympic trials, coming into the finish line. Chris was waving an American flag on the sidelines, and I grabbed it and ran to the finish line with it. So Chris and I have fun history. But he's saying that Sarah could actually still go in the 10,000 if Carissa, Elise, and Rachel decide to run the 5K only. I'm not sure that that's really going to happen, but if it does, then Sarah Hall will be a 2021 Olympian.
And that would help you, Deena, because it would mess up her training for the American record attempt in the marathon. Yeah. So it's a win-win. Chris has a good theory. By the way, folks, Chris just joined the Supporters Club. last week. I sent him a handwritten note and said, Chris, if only we had hired you as the intern. He wanted to be the intern back when he was in college. We could have Chris Lotzbaum on the show instead of Jonathan Galt. John, you could be a struggling writer for a defunct newspaper. That's what you'd be doing right now.
Oh, you're making me feel very, I guess I should be grateful that I'm on the podcast then right now, or I don't know. All right. I think we should let, Deena's been very
great,
generous with the time. So I think it was great catching up with you. It was great seeing the footage of your dogs. Hope you enjoy the final day of the marathon, of the Olympic trials. I'm sure we'll cross paths at a marathon at some point in the next few years.
Thanks, you guys. Keep up the good work. It's been fun to follow through your perspectives. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. We need sound effects. The great Deena Kastor, everyone. The great Deena Kastor. That was a pleasant surprise, guys.
That was amazing. Weldon somehow got her on the show remotely and by sending her an email. So
that's called improvisation, people. Adjusting on the fly.
I know. I think that makes up for some of the audio issues earlier, people.
Yeah. This is letsrun.com.
Let's go back to the 10,000 just for a second, though. I mean, to me, she drops the hammer and she's just destroying everybody. Sisson is. And then, I love the lappage. You rarely see it, but every once in a while you see someone get lapped. You just can't believe they're getting lapped. At the very end of the last 100 meters, she laps Emily Enfield. Emily Enfield has the 2015 bronze. She was on the Olympic team last year. She's actually PR'd in the event this year, and she still gets lapped by Emily Sisson. That's how good she was, was today. Absolutely amazing. And then, Sarah Hall, I don't know. That's the thing about this thing. Like, she's improved so much in her late 30s, and I can get why people are skeptic. But again, like, she's another person. I would bet my life that she's clean. Maybe she could be a super shoe responder that could explain some of this stuff. But, that's one way to think about it is, if there's I always like to think, okay, I know this person's clean, and then therefore people can be a little bit faster than her. It makes me feel better about it. But hats off to Emily Sisson. Let's talk about tomorrow, guys. Has the music stopped? Oh, now we have the Hayward Tower in the background from Weldon and John. It's going to be amazing. We've got the women's, in the morning, we've got the men's 5,000 meter final, then the women's 8 final. And last, but certainly not least, the men's 1,500 final. I think that's the one I've been most waiting for. I've been waiting for this race for months. So what can we expect tomorrow?
Well, what can we expect? I mean, I kind of expect similar in the 5K to what we saw. Well, it looks like we're around a campfire or something right now. I mean, the 5K, are we to expect that Grant Fisher and Woody Kincaid won't make the team again? I mean, we sort of talked about this after the prelims, but they looked good. Chalimo looked good. Kupatia and Jenkins, I think those are kind of the guys we're keying in on. But, I mean, I don't know. Kincaid, if he's there with 200 to go, I think he might be the guy to beat just based on how well he kicked in the 10K. I kind of picked Fisher. Well, I did pick Fisher. I kind of think he's still the guy to beat. He did look good in the 10K, and I guess it's him and Kincaid are around. But then Chalimo, I don't know. It's going to be a good race. I think Chalimo, Kincaid, Fisher,
Jenkins,
and Jenkins, I guess, and Tier. I think those are the 5.
I'm expecting a 4-person race: Fisher, Kincaid, Chalimo, and Tier. And I'm just not sure. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if I could change my pick right now, I picked Fisher, Kincaid, and Chalimo in that order. But hearing Chalimo talk after the prelims and said he likes hot weather, I think if I could change my pick, I might pick him. But it's not going to shock me at all if Tier gets on this team.
The interesting thing about Chalimo, Robert, is he usually complains about like allergies and stuff when he comes to Eugene. He's like, I don't usually run that well here. That's why he said he ran poorly in 2015 before he was really established. 2016 he was only 3rd, barely made the team, and then medals at the Olympics. And he's like, yeah, I just don't handle the allergies well. I don't really run very well. But I also think, I don't know, just from my personal experience, I've barely had any allergy issues here in Eugene, and I usually get it pretty bad. So I feel like maybe the hot weather has helped Chalimo in that aspect, and then I think he's equipped to run well in the heat as well. So those things all work in his favor. He doesn't have the 10K in his legs. I do expect him to make this team. I mean, I picked Fisher, Kincaid, and Chalimo to make the team. I think before the meet, I'm sticking with that. Shall we move on to the evening finals? and I guess we'll go chronological order. Women's 800 meters. Again, we talked about this a little bit on the podcast yesterday. We all agree I think Mo is now the favorite based on how she ran in the rounds.
Yeah. I mean, I might, well, I guess I'll wait till tomorrow, but I might put her as Olympic gold favorite. But she's my favorite. I mean, that's crazy. Ajay Wilson, with all the greatness she's done, got beat by Raven Rogers at the last Worlds. And now I'm thinking, of those three, I think for whatever reason, she's more in jeopardy than Raven Rogers not to make the team.
Based just on what we saw in the rounds, I kind of agree. Even though Wilson beat her in the
she was
semis,
ahead
right?
of Raven, but
Raven's last 100 was so good.
Yeah, Raven had this incredible last 100. Now maybe her fitness isn't there and she'll run out of steam, but just Hayward, she seems to know how to do it. I don't know. Robert will say that's crazy. Ajay just finished ahead of Raven in a heat, but just being here, that's the one thing I'm feeling. And then Kate Grace, I think, could get in there as well. She's very good with the rounds. Her endurance is back. I mean, she's always had the endurance for an 800 runner. And so I think she definitely made the right decision going to the 8. I think she could have made the team in the 15, and it actually didn't end up being that weak.
Would have needed a PR from Kate Grace to make the team.
Really?
Yeah.
Look, the fact that Wilson has been hurt does make me a little bit nervous, but she's been better than Raven Rogers all season. She's been better than Raven Rogers here. So I know Raven's going to have the Hayward magic. I just think Raven's going to play it safe, so maybe she could snip her for third at the end. But I think Ajay is going to be helped by the fact that I expect Mo to take this puppy out and run it from the front, and this to be a 6 fast time. And my only concern is, could she go too fast and blow up? But I don't know. I think if she runs, even if she goes out in 56, don't we think she's strong enough to come home in 61 and still run 157?
Yes, I do.
I think that she's still going to make this team. So I had originally picked Moo, Wilson, and Grace. And yeah, am I confident that Raven Rogers isn't going to have the Hayward magic and come from behind? I think that she could. But this is why it's going to be amazing. The drama is amazing. This race, really the 5K and the 1500, 4 total studs for 3 spots. So
yeah, Raven Rogers, look, she rises to the occasion. 2017 NCAAs, she gets the baton in second, she gave up the lead, didn't she, in that race to Kendall Ellis came in with the inside pass and she still overcame it. Anyway, that race, she delivered the triple crown for Oregon in 2017. World Championship final, she runs the best race of her life, runs down Ajay Wilson for the silver medal in 2019 in Doha. I think she's a big racer. Hayward Field, her face is on that tower behind us. I think she makes the team.
Yeah, so do I. And Chris Lawson saying Moo in 157. If I had to pick a time and a winner, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's a pretty sensible pick, Chris. Maybe 156. We'll see.
I mean, I think it depends on the heat and everything. It's going to be 110 degrees.
I forgot about that.
So This is crazy. It really could change everything. I don't know. You might be just hot and be just like, screw it, I'm not going to take it out hard. But a thing's been, training in Texas all year, so it's pretty hot. So
no, 157 selling her short. If Ajay Wilson's run 155,
that 155 was with Semenya towing her along, though. Those times are all going to be inflated for years. No one's going to touch him because you're never going to have a pacemaker as good as Kastor Semenya.
Well, I'm predicting a 156. I think she's going to crush these girls in this race tomorrow. I really do. The more I think about it. Anyways, that should be amazing. And then the next to last event, the last distance event, the men's 1500. We've helped hype up this race. Hawker, Centrowitz, Ingalls, and Nagoose. And the question I have is, will someone who doesn't have the standard take this out? Right now, Hawker's the last guy in if no one moves up ahead of him. If he wins this, if he gets third and runs 340 or faster, he'll move up 2 spots, probably be safe. There's a little bit of worry. That makes me a little bit nervous. But if I'm Ben Thomas, I don't know. It would suck. I think I tell him, don't worry about the time. What do you guys tell him about that?
Repeat what you said, Robert.
Do you think Hawker should worry about the time at all?
No, I wouldn't worry about it. Look, if it goes really slow. Well, actually, all right. Let's say if it's 70 seconds, do you move to the front? I kind of think you probably should after one lap.
Well, 70 seconds it's too slow anyways for him to run 340.
Okay, I guess
He's got to keep it at like 62 or something the first lap.
Yeah, if it's going really, really slow at the start, yes, I think you go to the front and try to make sure your time's okay. But as long as it's like 61, 62 opening lap, don't worry about it and just race. Now that's a lot to be keeping in mind. But
what do you think they need to run 340? If they're 204, let's say they're 306. Well, they wouldn't get it there, but if they're 204 and you keep up that pace, what does that hit you at the bell?
Well, he ran 335 after opening in 2 flat at NCAA's. So 204, they could run 339 if he closes the same way.
Yeah, I think they're going to get it. I mean, the only caveat is the 110 degrees. But there's a lot of guys who don't have the standard. They want to be Olympians. They're going to take the safety squeeze tomorrow.
John, what were the splits? Did you say?
I believe it was a 2 flat opening 800 at NCAA's, and then he closed at 148 for his last 800.
Okay, because I mean today at the British Championships, Josh Kerr won it in 340.72. The 800 split in that race was 205.86. So I'm not sure. I mean, Kerr is damn good. He may be as good, if not better, than Sinchowitz and Hocker. So it's going to be a fascinating Olympics because I think there's a lot of guys that could come home with the gold medal. Everyone's handing it to Ingebrigtsen, not me. But as long as it's like, 204, I think he's going to do it fine. But I don't know. I want to file a protest here because I called Jonathan Galt up this morning and I need a ruling from the masses. The Supreme Court is the Let'sRun.com masses. I've been ahead of Jonathan in the prediction contest, the running warehouse prediction contest the whole week because my knowledge of the sport is obviously a lot higher than his. But it's been tightening up and now I may have fallen behind. But there's a mistake. There's no way. I've been Sintro's big fan forever. And it says on there that I picked Hocker over Sintrowitz. I don't think that I did do that. I think that was a mistake. I was taking care of my child. Am I allowed to change my pick?
You own the website. You run the contest, and you're blaming some unseen power for entering your picks incorrectly. You screwed this up. Own it. I mean, look, maybe Cole Hocker wins, and you're all right. But this computer's about to run out of battery any second here. So if we cut out, Robert, you're on your own closing the podcast. But I'm sorry. You take responsibility for the picks that you made. It's not my fault if you don't know how to type in picks on your own website in your own contest.
Well, can the visitors tell me who was I for? Because I'm confused who I had back in the day.
I thought you were in the goose stand from day one.
Thank you, Deena. Thank you, Deena. Just pointed out, Deena's a mother. Fathers never can blame anything. Robert has a 3-year-old. It's not like he's got some infant at home. He's bringing a 3-year-old, and his wife's working from home from the pandemic too. So there's no excuses here. This is Robert's mistake. This is why, I don't know, he never rose to the greats. He never competed at Hayward Field, John. The excuses. He always says, genetic equal. Well.
Wait, whoa. You can't say that because this very morning, Weldon was scrambling to try to change his 10K picks while the race was going on. He's like, wait, the window's still closed. Can I change my picks? I'm like, no, Weldon, you're not allowed to do that. It's total abuse of power. So apparently, of the 3 of us, I'm the only person on the Let'sRun.com or at least on this podcast, who can enter our prediction contest picks correctly.
Okay.
Robert, you got to give a final question in the goose, and then we got to go because our battery has 2 minutes left. And we got to go to the Wild Duck. Everyone, Peterson Wild Duck. I'm getting so old. I have not been to the Wild Duck once all week.
Wow, that's bad. That is sad. No, I'm going Sinchowitz, Hocker, and the goose. And I feel bad. By the way, his Craig Ingles high school coach, have you guys seen him? Has he been staying at your place? This way, if I'm wrong in my prediction and the goose doesn't make it, Ingles probably makes it. I feel a little bit better about that. What about you guys? What's your final predictions for that race?
Centro, Hocker. Oh, sorry. I picked Centro, Engels, Hocker. I'm not sure about the order. Maybe Hocker is ahead of Engels. I'm going to stick. No, I picked Centro, Engels, Hocker. That's the prediction I'm sticking with. That's my 1, 2, 3. That's my Olympic team.
I just don't think that. Oh, well then.
It's got to be different than John. Centro, Ingles, Hocker.
That's the same team I picked in the same order.
I thought you said Hocker Ingles.
No, I said Centro,
Ingles,
Engels,
then I'm
Hocker.
going Hocker Ingles.
Okay.
I could see Ingles beating Hocker, but we got to remember, folks, Craig Ingles never won an NCAA title. So I think these other guys have a slightly higher talent level, slightly higher ceiling. But that race is going to be amazing. And then right after that, we're going to get Knighton Lyles in the 200. So it should be amazing. So again, VIP supporting club members, thank you so much for your support. We've loved doing the podcast. It's been a lot of fun. You guys, it's only 9:18 on the West Coast. Have fun. John, please take care of Weldon. You know, I've seen some men in their 50s and they go out to these dining establishments late at night and they I think that they're still 25. They end up sloppy and slurring their words. Please make sure that Weldon doesn't end up like that, Jonathan. Thank you. I guess we lost them because they've totally frozen up. So their computer must have crashed out. So it's the Rojo only show, folks. This is amazing. Nobody can stop me from saying what I want. Anything else we need to talk about, folks? Any final comments? So I really can't wait. I mean, it's going to be an amazing final day. And it's really going to be an amazing final 25 minutes. You've got the women's 800 at 7:30. You've got the men's 1500 at 7:40. And you've got the men's 200 at 7:52. It's just going to be spectacular race after spectacular race after spectacular race. I mean, like we've waited 5 years for something like this. Truly amazing. So who's going to be fifth in the 1500? That's a good question. Whew. Well, I think one of the big four, but no, I don't actually. Will they screw up? Could be Henry Wynn. I mean, he's run 3:34.08 this year. Pretty fast. Oh, I forgot about Josh Thompson, though. I mean, do we ever consider he trains with Centros every day? He's got a great kick. He's getting older, though. I mean, I think he's like 29, which isn't that old, but, you know, he started college late. So if it was a slow race, which I don't think it's really going to be, wouldn't surprise me. I'm just fascinated, though. Is one of these Brooks Beast guys going to take it out? If I was the Brooks Beast, I would tell Wahid Suleiman, look, dude, you just signed the team last week. You're going to take one for the team, and you're going to take it out because David Ribich doesn't have the time. But maybe they're probably setting everything up for Wynn. Wynn's already got the time, so maybe he doesn't want Hawker to get the time. So maybe they don't want it fast. So, you know, maybe there isn't that incentive to go get the time. So there's Weldon. Oops.
Still there, Rojo.
People are upset that you didn't have a backup battery.
Rojo.
Yes.
Wow, still broadcasting.
People are asking who's going to get fifth. Yeah.
Come on. Robert, you got to sign this thing off so we can upload it. Here's a good point. How is anyone going to run 100 PR in 112-degree heat? They're probably not. But I think it's race this short of a distance. The actual racing shouldn't affect them that much. It's more the warm-up and that sort of stuff. But mentally, I would be a head case. I wouldn't run well. I'd be like, oh, I can't warm up that much. What should I do? I think the stars will rise to the occasion. And someone was asking, this is the thing I was trying to get out before we got disconnected, is like why Centro didn't do interviews. That's pretty standard for him at the trials. He just usually will say one or two sentences and just walk out. Here, he can pretty much avoid it completely, so that's what he's done.
Yeah, I don't know if 100 would hurt them or not in the sense of, I mean, normally it would not. I've never heard of the heat ever affecting a 1500. I think it'd be as hot as possible, but I've never seen a race run in 110-degree temperature. I did ask John Kellogg this. He thought no, but then he said, well, maybe it's a couple of seconds, but a couple of seconds is a lot. So, yeah, if you don't have the standard, I think it'd be hard to get it in this heat. So, anyways, yes, we will be in Tokyo. We'll be doing live shows. Jonathan and I will be there. Should be exciting. That's true. Look, I mean, I know it wasn't 110, but Emily Sisson ran 31 flat in 85-degree heat. So 4 minutes of running, your core temperature shouldn't go up. I think you actually probably could PR at 110-degree heat. You just wouldn't feel good doing it. But anyways, until tomorrow, our final show.